Welcome to the video, guys. Today we're covering 5 content tips to start to add to your content in order to extract more cash flow from your audience. This is going to work regardless of whether you're a high-ticket affiliate marketer or you're a coach or you're a network marketer, anything like that. You're still going to need to understand and learn and deploy copywriting in your business, and the better you can become at that, the more cash flow you're going to be able to extract from your audience. This is something that I actually ignored for many years as part of my own affiliate marketing journey. In fact, if you'd circled back to 2011 and said, hey, you need to learn this stuff, it's called copywriting, and you need to get your mindset fixed up and whatnot, I would have been like, no way, man, just give me the tactics. I just need a couple $100 a day and I'm done, right? And I'll learn all that stuff later on. And that's kind of how it went, except I didn't get the couple $100 to start with. I actually failed my way through, and then I learned that, it's a chicken and egg. I needed to learn the skills in order to do the stuff, right? Anyway, what I will also say, I'm going to throw a little caveat out there at this stage in that I'm not a professional copywriter. Some people may end up arguing with the 5 tips I'm going to give you guys. However, what I do know is that I get really good feedback from it. I get told it's very entertaining. And you know what? I sell a shitload of stuff through very small audiences. And so that there tells me must be doing something right. Okay, so anyway, with all that being said, if this is the first time on the channel, welcome. My name is Jamie Gardner. I'm a full-time affiliate marketer. I'm also a coach. And if you're interested in learning how I might be able to help you grow and scale your online business, feel free to check out my free group. There's a link in the description. I'm going to take you through to my free Facebook group, and happy to have a chat if that's of interest, and see what I'm all about and all the free stuff I've got in there as well. So look forward to catching up with you very soon. Anyway, all that being said, let's dive straight into it. 5 content tips. Number 1 is one of the most important parts of content creation and copywriting in general is the ability to capture someone's attention right off the get-go. And so one of the ways that I like to do that is quite simply by asking a question. Hey, has this ever happened to you before? How would it feel if this ever happened? What would happen if this happened? What would it look like if this happened? Things like that. And so that way, what happens is someone subconsciously cannot not answer a question. So they have to, unless it's like completely offensive or whatever, they have to see what the next line is. Well, I don't know what if this has ever happened to me before, is I don't know what the next line is. Let me just read it. Oh, well, now I'm hooked. And that's kind of how it goes, right? So start thinking about those types of things and even write it out. In fact, I'd highly encourage you to just start writing this type of stuff down as well. Think of it as many hooks as you can come up with, things that are really going to capture someone's attention. How much intrigue can you throw into that first line? That in itself is going to help massively. Now, what I would also say is I don't always do that. Sometimes I just start with a sentence and I make some kind of implication about something, or I might say something like, most affiliate marketers don't do this when they should be doing that. For example, that was a bad example. You hopefully get where I'm going with that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I like to use what I refer to as tie downs. They may be worded something different in copywriting world, so go do your homework on that one. But a tie down in this instance is, do you see what I'm saying? Does this make sense? Hear what I'm saying? Do you get what I mean? You're picking up what I'm dropping down, like whatever it is, right? Depending on whether someone is auditory or visual or kinesthetic in terms of their listening. Not that you're going to know when you're actually writing this thing out, but point being is that whatever your normal language pattern is, I would go with that. The easiest one is, does that make sense? Have you ever felt like that before? It's another one I use quite often, where basically it implies, there's an implication that someone has had those types of experiences, so it means that they are now emotionally tied into that as well. Other thing, in fact, I kind of went out of order here, but circling back to the top, so we've got a big headline or a question or an implication of some kind, and just and I'm sorry, I'm kind of deviating a little bit here, but it's going to differ if you're writing an email versus say a sales page. A sales page is more like using the traditional sort of doctrine, which is how to X without Y, type stuff, right? And so that's how you do a traditional sales page. I guess what I'm referring to here more specifically is things like emails and social media content and whatnot as well. So anyway, part 2. So now I've done kind of like 1 and 3. So if we back up a little bit, like I say, I'm better at writing than I am at video content apparently. But so the second tip that I'll give to you guys is if you can, try and start at the height of the emotion, at the height of the story. And to paint a really weird little picture there, let's say that you were on a yacht and the yacht was heading right towards the shore. You're about to crash, and you're in this monster storm. Like, it's crazy, and things getting blown around, and you're scared, and there's cold and wet, and you don't really know where you are, and it's dark, and you can't see, and there's like sounds like dolphins mocking you from underneath the boat, and it actually turns out there are a bunch of sharks. And all right, so you get the point. But so if you imagine that if someone is writing that as a story, then and it was part of a novel, then you might write out the finer details, like, oh, it started in the Pacific, and it was a beautiful, glorious day, and blah blah blah, and the birds were chirping, and everything was amazing, and then eventually it builds up into the storm. But the height of the emotion would take it the other way. It would be something to the effect of, think, brain, think. Something to the effect of, with the destruction of our tiny vessel imminent, all seemed lost in the darkness of the storm, but yet somehow, in the distance, a glowing light came through, and it was the rescue boat, basically. But if you imagine, one way is telling the full story. We were in a boat, and it was good, and this is how we got in the boat, and then we went up in a storm, we nearly crashed. But that's not at the height, whereas the height is like, oh my god, we're about to die. And that is the height, and that there excites people. It makes them intrigued about reading further as well, right? So think about that. So now we've, okay, really well out of order, Jamie, but anyway, big ass hook, like nice way to tie people in. You want to put in some sort of intrigue if you can. Try and start at the height of the story. Really depends. This is for more creative things as well. What I say, number 3, use tie downs to add questions in along the way. Does this sound familiar to you at all, where it puts that person in the story mentally, at least anyway? What else was I going to do? Oh yeah, one of my favorite things is I really love using alliteration, and so I do it over really weird stuff. So what's an example? I don't know why, but I was thinking about boats just then, and so the first thing that popped into my mind was like Alex Albatross or something. Sorry to any Alexes that watch this, by the way. But that's obviously a not the greatest example, but that there, it means you can start to create characters. Could be like Jumping Jamie, for example, or that's with a person's name, but you can do it over anything. It could be the cutlass of the cup of cutlassness or something like that, right? The pirate's cup of cutlass is, I don't know. Point being is that when you're doing that, it's interesting, it's fun for starters because it's good wordplay. But then the other part of it is, again, it creates something new and unique, especially if you can like mold words together as well. This is why things like acronyms work really well for naming conventions of programs and trainings and different things, or formulas or whatever, because if it's an acronym, it means it doesn't exist. Someone's made that up, right? So that's why, like my products, for example, we've got SAA, which is Super Affiliate Accelerator, but we've got SAI, Super Affiliate Intensive. I've also got my own program, so I've got something called the Sales Prognosticator Masterclass, which is basically how to sell stuff, right? But I call it SPM. It's known as SPM. I've got another one, which is FIFS, Freedom in 4 Steps. It's a workshop I put together. I've also got something called the Ultimate Marketing Mastermind. That is my premium coaching that I have, UMM for short. All these things have an acronym, and so therefore when I'm writing this into content, creates that sense of intrigue until eventually it becomes hopefully a household name. And everyone's like, oh, you don't know that, that's awesome, yeah, Ultimate Marketing Mastermind, I definitely want to join that. So alliteration is the other thing. And the final piece of what I was going to say there is looking for correlations. Now this is probably the trickiest part of it, but I think once you start getting into finding these correlations, it actually becomes really enjoyable, because then you can work out, well, there's actually correlations to everything everywhere around me. And to give a really weird example, I had this, all right, story time, go back to my childhood. Basically, when I was a child, I was around about 4 years old at the time. As I recall, I might have been older, might have been younger, I don't quite know. Around that kind of like, under 10 age group, which, whatever. So I was young, basically, and I was sitting in my car, and we're at a place in New Zealand. It's called Rotorua. Amazing little township, quite smelly. Sorry, folks from Rotorua. Smells quite bad. All the sulfur is an active volcano there, so it smells like sulfur. Anyways, I was on the lake there, and just sitting there minding my own business. In fact, it might have, maybe it wasn't Rotorua now, come to think, it might have been on Lake Taupo. Anyway, whatever. I was at a place where there was swans, all right? There was bloody these black swans with red beaks, and I was just a little kid, and I was holding my sandwich, I was enjoying eating the sandwich, and all of a sudden this swan came towards me, but because they moved so slow, I just assumed it was friendly. And I'm holding my sandwich, eating it, and then it just goes, and like smashes my hand, rips the sandwich out, smashes the sandwich down in front of me, and I was like just bereft, like, oh no, why? Oh god. And yeah, so anyway, I didn't have a sandwich that day, basically, is the crux of the story. Those jerks, but I've held a lifelong vendetta against any swan ever since. Like, if I ever see a swan, immediately they're a jerk to me. I'm kidding. I actually think they're beautiful animals, but this is a funny story. Anyway, I told that story to my wife, and for some reason we were just playing around the other day, and she just said, I was making a nice little breakfast for myself, and she said, what would happen if a swan came in to our apartment? I don't know how that would happen. That was funny in itself. And come and steal your bruschetta away that you'd made. I was like, that doesn't sound like fun at all. And so what I came out with, just top of my head type stuff, like started making up this big story. Well, I would go into, vengeful anger, and I'd go and avenge the honor of my family, and I'd go and wipe out all these swans, then I get thrown in jail, and then I'd be in jail, and then I get a 60 minutes expose on me and my life, and then I'd get a public petition because it turns out I'm not the only one that thinks swans are jerks, and then basically I'd get released from prison, and then I'd write a book about it, and then Chris Hemsworth would play me in the movie, and then it would be a trilogy, and I'd be called the Swan Venger. And the relevance of this stupid little story, thank you for listening by the way, is I used that. I used Swan Venger, which was this new character I apparently just made up on the spot. I used that in my content. I wrote an email, and it was to my very, very small list. You're welcome, if you click the link below, you're welcome to check that out and work out all the very zany style of writing that I have. And so I put that in the content, and I used it as a way to find the correlation to an offer that I've just put out. I'm actually, at the time of recording, I'm in the midst of a product launch. I've got around about 24-ish hours left on this particular launch. And so for those of you that are unfamiliar, you really kind of like hammer at the last little part of the launch, right? And it's going well, by the way, thanks for asking. Anyway, so with all that being said, the correlation that I used was the fact that this episode that I had when I was a small child left an indelible mark on me. It was something that was quite negative. And so the correlation was, and I'm certainly mindful of any negative impact that I have on my readers at this stage. So, if you don't want the negative impact of missing out on this particular product called the P2P formula, hit the link below. It's going to give you XYZ, blah, 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 blah. And so that was the correlation. And so that was the correlation between my story and this correlation is that if you're looking around your house and thinking about stories that come out from your everyday life, and it could be anything, you stub your toe in the morning, and stub your toe is a negative thing. So now I've just given you a little framework to use. This is a really negative thing to happen, and I don't want negative things to happen to you, so that's why you need to go and buy this thing right now. So you find those little correlations. Another one that works really well, this is actually from Russell Brunson. He calls it a kind of like bridge, which is kind of like. Basically, he would use those three words. It's kind of like, and so it's like my cutlass of doom for pirates is it's kind of like when you're going to the pirate store and you're finding your own cutlass to use, and there was no correlation there, but I'm suggesting that that's something that you can use as well. It's kind of like how I felt when this thing happened, and that's why you should click on the link below. It's kind of how it was when I was going through my bankruptcy, and that's why you need to check out this thing that I made for you guys over here, right? And so if you're able to think of these correlations, and they can be the most ridiculous things. They can be like you're watching TV, or there's an episode of a sitcom, or a book that you've read recently, or like I say, like someone my wife asked me about a swan, and I created content around that. I was listening to some music the other night, and I was thinking about, well, in that case, it was just a playlist and had like Creedence Clearwater Revival and so John Fogerty's voice, and then later on it had Passenger from Iggy Pop, and I was like, oh, this is great music. So I wrote some stuff around that, created a little bit of a story, and then just was finding ways to correlate that with my actual offer itself. So anyway, all that being said, so just to recap really quickly, I understand I've been waffling on for a little bit now, and my voice is getting tired from too much waffling. But number one is you've got to have a really good hook, something that is very intriguing. This is number one. So have something that, like I say, is a story or an implication, something like that. Try, if you can, it's not always going to be relevant, try to start at the height of emotion in the story as well. One way that you can do that really easily is just use the word so. So there I was, standing on the banks of the river, blah, 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 whatever it is, right? So start at the height of the emotion of the story if you can. Use questions as tie downs. This is, in my opinion, this is what gets people engaged and keeps them going through and blah, blah, blah. And how much would it cost if you missed out on this opportunity? All this type of stuff. What does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you see what I mean? Do you get it? How would that feel for you if you missed out or if you did get that thing, right? So asking those as a form of tie down to get people to subconsciously respond to the question and obviously continue reading. What else to say? Alliteration, just because it's fun, it's creative, and it's a way for something relatively boring to become a little bit more exciting by having alliteration in there. You can get really nifty with it as well. And then I would double up with that and say, use acronyms for your naming conventions, just again, because it's something that creates intrigue. It's like, well, what's this? What is that? That's kind of weird. Like, I don't know what that means. So I'm going to continue reading to find out. And then last but not least, what was the last one? Oh yeah, correlations. Find ways to correlate stuff to your overall, call to action, and you'll do really, really freaking well. And so one thing I would say as well, and I'm going to share one tiny little story for you, last one, I promise, then I'll let you leave, is many, many moons ago, I didn't understand how powerful it was to be able to write a short couple of paragraphs and send it out to an audience and make money. And now I'm very confident with that. And it is such an incredible skill to have. So I highly encourage everyone to go out there and just become better at it. And one of the ways, and this is the not so fun part about doing this stuff as well, is one of the ways that I became better at it, apart from absorbing books and audio books and manuscripts and different things I'd find lying around in ads and all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff over the years, which you can find out there, by the way. But just to throw some names: Dan Kennedy or John Carlton or Frank Kern or Neville Medora or who else we got? Ian Stanley in modern day times as well. All those dudes are exceptional copywriters as well. And so anyway, study them. But what I did is I thought, well, what's better than studying is actually doing. And so I created a moniker on e-zines, and I just started typing every day. And I'd write a 500-word article every single day. And I did that for, I think it was like 38 days straight or something like that. Just because I wanted to become better at writing. It wasn't specifically copy in that instance, but what it taught me was, the more you do, the better you get, first and foremost. And secondly, I was able to contract down the time it took me to produce content. And I think that's a huge thing. And if you are struggling with that, I'm going to give a little number 6 bonus tip right here, is use a timer, right? Set a timer on your laptop or your thing or your phone or whatever, and just that's all the time you have to create that content. And don't put so much pressure on it being good. Like, just throw it out there. Who gives a shit, right? Like, no one's really going to care about it. Like, and if they do, that's their problem, not yours. So just go out there, just do it, keep practicing. And like I say, the confidence that you gain from knowing, hey, I can take these guys and put them on a keyboard, and then all of a sudden money spits out the other side because I've leveraged the skill that I have. It's so unbelievably powerful. So start to ingrain this into your own business and you'll see some incredible results. So anyway, all that being said, this has been an incredible waffle. Hopefully you got some value out of it. Hit that subscribe button, drop a comment below if you got any value out of this. And of course, I will look forward to catching up with you guys in the next one. Thanks very much.